Hi! Hello, everyone. Today we are excited to come to you from the land of the Cowichan. Behind us is the wonderful Zuhaila Mountain, and then we have the beautiful confluence, you could call it, of the Cowichan and the Coxsila River meeting Cowichan Bay. We are the Sol y Luna Inspirations, a bi-weekly report, and this is Martin Comtois. My name is Diana Robinson, and
We're so grateful for you guys to support the channel. So please press the like button if you like this video. That helps. It massages the algorithms. Also, subscribe to the channel if you can. And then if you'll be so kind to share this video with your circle, would be really, really indebted. So this is
the new moon report for Libra. So at the end of the week, we're going to have a Libra new moon. And today we are going to be diving into what that looks like, along with some of the other energies that are happening this week. It's a pretty packed week, hey, Martin?
It's going to be, especially at the weekend, comes a lot of different things. So the Libra new moon, so that's September the 25th, 2:50, so in the afternoon, times they are changing. And that's an old Bob Dylan song, right? So we're gonna give Bob Dylan the credit for that. And times they are changing, and we can use that in a lot of different ways. We can talk about how the equinox is coming. We have the new moon, which is the first moon of the fall. And then we also have that really intense Saturn Uranus conjunction, huh?
Yeah, that final square.
The final square.
Final count.
So let's look at it on the chart here, because it's beautiful, and also show you this beautiful scenery. But so we have sun and moon over here. So at the, so Libra and Virgo, that's the moon, and that's the sun, and that's the moon. And then in between we have Mercury and Venus. So that's a four-way conjunction. So let's unwrap that for you. Um, so now we're at sunset. Okay, so now, right now, well, not now, but at the time of the 25th, the sun, the moon, Mercury, and Venus will be rising together. They'll spend the whole day together, and they'll set together. So that's something to meditate upon on Sunday. That Mercury, Sun, Moon, and Venus are traveling together.
Martin, what would you say when you see so many planets together and they're all pretty personal planets, so close together? What would you take away as a noticing factor? You say meditate on it. What comes up for you with four planets together?
Well, when a conjunction is probably one of the most important aspects in astrology. That all the planets act as one together. Now, the conjunction of the sun and the moon, and any conjunction with the sun, when it's within a short, within 1 degree, we have the factor called combustion. And combustion means that the planet gets burnt up by the sun. So then, being too close to the sun, sometimes it hampers. But then being very, very close to the sun, then there's an exaltation. So there are different feelings to it. But in ancient astrology, the new moon, nova luinium, the new moon, it always had a bad reputation, because the energy is kind of dark. This is the only day of the month, the only couple of days of the month where the moon is not seen at all. Goes from the crescent, the waxing crescent, to the waning crescent, to the waxing crescent. So then at this new moon, we have Mercury and Venus. Now Mercury is passing the inferior conjunction. So it's passing in between the earth and the sun and the moon. And so right the day before, we have an exact line of Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Earth, you know, so there's a real, you know, powerful reboot of energy. And then Venus soon will also enter into an exact line with the Sun and also pass, but then Venus is passing on the other side of the Sun. And both planets are moving from being the morning star to the evening star. And so for a little while there, Mercury and Venus are going to be morning stars. And then Venus, after the conjunction, will go to the other side. So all those planets, and that's really something to pay attention to. It's really quite important.
It's not hard to be up before the sun these days as the sun gets up later and later here. So you can always look out for it in the sky too before if you're watching sunrise.
Well, to actually see them at sunrise, it's going to happen before sunrise, and you're going to have to be in a place where you have a really low horizon. So either you go on the top of a mountain or in the prairie folks, that's the best place to watch. Or in the middle of the ocean, then you'll see Mercury and Venus rising together. Quite spectacular. If you're able to see that, then if you got a picture, send it to us, we'll put it up. Here, let's give you a little bit more detail of what's going on here on the chart so you can see. So here we go.
One time when I think of Mercury and Venus, I think of our communication, how we think and values. And when this new moon happens, Mercury's still retrograde. So there's still this like reflective and inward energy in our thought process and having to deal with maybe some technology hiccups or some reevaluations. And then conjunct Venus, I think of that as reevaluating our values, our relationships. And then this is all in Libra.
You mean like what happened today to us today and how their technology blunder and how it all screwed everything up? Yeah, well, so you were saying about Mercury retrograde. So we have a video that we did just a little bit ago, and we'll put a link at the end of the video. You can get into more details of that. But yes, Mercury retrograde, and especially, see, the first 2 weeks of Mercury retrograde, well, it's actually not quite 2 weeks. It's more like 10 days, 11 days. It is before Mercury conjuncts the sun. That's a real time of like, okay, what's going on? It's a very, it's a, it's a, it's a, it's a, it's kind of very reactionary time, but it's not a clear time. When the conjunction happens, usually insight happens. Like, oh, you know, so keep track of that conjunction. At the end of the video, we have the important dates to keep, and then we'll give you that date. Yeah, and then Venus is kind of the same too. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, more or less, for sure.
Oops.
Oh. This chart for the new moon, I'd love to hear what you take away from it, but take a good look at it. It's this chart here on the right, and it's pretty powerful.
So we have that the Sun, Venus, Moon, Mercury straggling the Libra Ingress. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, nope, no question.
Okay, and then all 4 planets are in direct opposition to Jupiter, Neptune.
I thought this was super cool because I don't know where you were, what was going on in your life in mid-April, but Neptune is at the exact same degree where Jupiter and Neptune had a conjunction this year, earlier in the year.
And Jupiter is getting ready to re-enter into Pisces, and Jupiter and Neptune are going to get real close again before Jupiter turns direct and leaves Pisces. So that will happen, that Jupiter Neptune will be really close right around Christmas, which will make Christmas, I think, a really sweet time this year. And then it's so that opposition, so that's a 6-planet opposition And with Mercury being about how we communicate and gather information, but it's moving retrograde. So we're really trying to find out a lot of new informations about ourselves. And then Venus is getting to the conjunction with the sun. So we're really finding out, Venus is how the sun feels. It's how it expresses its feeling through creativity. The sun is creative and it expresses its creativity through Venus. And Venus is about to enter into Libra. It's a sign that it rules. So then that's the beauty of ideas. Venus in Libra. So the beauty of ideas, ideas like harmony and peace and justice, those are Libran ideas. And so all of that in opposition to Jupiter, Neptune, the two co-rulers of Pisces. So there's something very kind of dreamy about it all, very poetic. And then we talked about this grand kite, right?
Yeah, this grand kite, as in my astrology studies, I'm always trying to understand it more. How would you say a grand kite, like when you see it? I see the grid, so
So the
pointed it
kite
out
is
before.
so the kite is first the grand trine in earth signs. So Uranus, Pluto, Mercury, Venus,
Mm-hmm.
but also the sun and the moon. That's that triangle. So that's a grand trine. And then it goes with this Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and it forms a kite, or if you may, it's like a bow and then an arrow and a release point. So the release point of the grand kite, or the bottom of the spine, is that Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and the tip is Jupiter, Neptune, and then the two sides of the bow, Uranus and Pluto. So Uranus and Pluto, that trine that's developing between Uranus and Pluto, we're going to see that trine for the next 7 years, along with Neptune in this thing here. So that we're going to be living through a big section basically from the rest of the decade. We're going to have this little triangle. It's going to disappear. It's going to come back in 2023. In 2024, it's going to come back. And from 2025 on, it's going to be constant. So we kind of, so then the grand kite constellates the inner planets, the sun and the moon, and the outer planets. So, like there's a real sense that we're entering, like the name of the video is Times They Are Changing, We know something is brewing politically, economically, everybody's kind of freaking out. We're entering into new phase of evolution. Um, uh, Allen called it the Triad of Transformation.
Hmm.
And so we're going to do a video on Wednesday about the Triad of Transformation and look at it in history and flesh it all out. But that's the grand kite.
For the grand kite, then you're saying how this like Uranus, Pluto, Neptune, it's going to continuously going in and out of this trine here. You're saying for the next 7 years. So it being a new moon, for me, new moons, I put a lot of intention in setting a new intention for the next lunar phase, the next month. It being in Libra really is going to probably bring a lot more emphasis towards our relationships, our values, um, especially our relationships. Having summer, probably having a lot of maybe fun or focused on nature or your personal endeavors, and now coming into fall where we need to lean on each other and be there for each other as we go through the darker months. I see this like pull to the future. When you say release point for uh grand cross,
Grand kite.
grand kite, then
But if you look at it
would
as
that
a
be
bow
something
and
you
arrow,
wanna?
the release
Yeah,
point of the arrow being Sun,
I
Moon, Mercury, Venus, and the tip being Neptune, Jupiter, you know, Jupiter, Neptune is
that.
about collective redemption, you know.
But I guess my question is, what would you be wanting to release, or what would you be, how could you utilize this energy for your best?
Well, the release point, meaning the point where the aim is judged, you know, like from the point, you know, that's where you take aim, is at the release point, right?
Yeah.
So the Mercury, you know, thinking, Venus feeling, the moon, the feminine side of the personality, the sun, you know, the God principle that is solar, lunar. There's kind of an aiming, you know, there's an aiming towards Jupiter, a sense of redemption, and then Jupiter, a sense of like enhanced, um, you know, social, kind of like Jupiter, you know, has hope and faith and principles and higher beliefs, you know, so Jupiter, Neptune, and then Uranus on one side of the bow. Uranus is the great revolutionary, and Pluto, the, you know, the great mother, you know, so they're, you know, so Uranus, Pluto, Neptune in that triangle, try the transformation. You know, we're kind of aligning ourselves. I think that aligning ourselves with deep, profound change. And even though this is really difficult, a lot of people I talk to that do the work, they feel like, wow, you know, they're coming in. I don't know about you, but it feels like we're coming into a very deeply creative, and that's the, you know, the meaning of a grand kite. It's very positive, you know. There's the grand kite, a grand trine in earth sign, super manifesting, Jupiter in Aries, Neptune in Pisces, mystical, adventurous. Mercury rules Virgo, Mercury, Venus, you know, there's a, in Virgo, there's the medicine, you know, and then the harmony of Libra. It's a beautiful grand kite.
It feels like this big momentous push into the world that I think are, to quote someone I really love, Charles Eisenstein, the world our hearts know is possible. Where there's this big push towards the reality we want. I remember on our last video we did for the Equinox, it's a great video if you have a time to look at it, because it is the Equinox 2 right around now, the 22nd, is this living the best life you can. Like, we're here on Earth for only such a short amount of time, and there's chaos everywhere, but there's this, like, this arrow reminds me of this, like, push to become our best, most expansive self. And I guess that's also that Jupiter expansive self point to the arrow.
Absolutely. Now let's shift this, you know, because even though this, you know, because what we talked about here is really deeply positive and kind of like almost like enlightening, really, in a sense, but there's an underlying tension. I don't know about you guys, but I certainly feel it. And please comment, you know, and ask questions about it. But that's that Saturn Uranus square, and you can see the line is really thick. Saturn and Uranus, this is the last square, and now it's within 1 degree of intensity, you know, of exactitude, less than 1 degree, and we'll spend the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks in that sense of intensity. And it's been building up closer and closer. We've watched it all summer long, and then we have a really powerful eclipse coming up in October, where the eclipse will be exactly aligned. You know, you see the north node, the north node and Uranus in conjunction. They've been in conjunction all year long, and so the next eclipse is right on it, and that's when the sun is going to be in Scorpio, and so that's going to be the culmination of it, and they'll keep building in intensity till then. So let you know, so that's that underlying intensity. It's going to be with us for some time. And although that Jupiter Neptune should be like, you know, kind of angelic and mystical, we have to contend with that Saturn. Whoops. Hey.
Down a little.
Okay, we have to contend with that Saturn Uranus Now, another factor, so that's the Saturn Uranus square within 1 degree, and then Mars factor in finding our voice. We did another video on Mars in Gemini. Now, Mars in Gemini Mars spends 7 months in Gemini. At the end of October, Mars is going to go retrograde and retrace its step. Now, Mars is making a square to the new moon and also a square to Jupiter, Neptune. So that's a T square with Mars. Then also Mars goes to Uranus and to Saturn, doing this little triangle there. And then Mars also goes to Chiron and Saturn. So, the wounded healer, Saturn, Uranus square, Mars, it's like, I call it finding your voice, what it is, that you want to express and how you express it. Mars in Gemini, it's about expressing yourself and in square to that Mercury. And so then because Mars is in Gemini, it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury, Venus are also ruled by Mercury. So finding our voice, what is it that we can contribute to this deep transformation that's taking place? That's the triad of transformation, but then that Saturn, Uranus, and we talked a lot. We have some great videos on the Saturn Uranus square. So go review those. And so that's a lot of information. And then you're going to tell us a little bit about some medicines that we can use. We'll go back to that later. And so here's some medicines that you can use to support your body in all of that. I'm going to move that over here. Here we go.
Yeah, so Libra rules our hips and our kidneys. And so really good, important time to be drinking lots of water, really important time to be stretching, getting back in your body, moving those stagnant cells. Usually Virgo season gets us into some form of better physical care. And so Libra's a great time to continue that going. As you've probably seen, if you've been watching these videos, I like to associate the tissue salts in here because I find it so fascinating that the tissue salts originally are connected to astrology, back when astrology and astronomy were more connected. And when you studied medicine, you studied the body, mind, and spirit. Is a lot more commonplace. Cell salt number 10 is the one that's associated with Libra, and it's Nat Phos. So this is the cell salt that helps us neutralize acid. So if we ever have kidney issues or bladder issues, we can often find that there's an imbalance of pH within the system. And so that can look like a lot of flatulence. It can look like strong body odor. And the cell salt Nat Phos is really good at helping us neutralize that and balance things out, which is Libra's kind of happy place. It likes to balance things out, see both sides. So that's the tissue salt. But then some herbs that are really nourishing for the Libra energies are thyme, feverfew, catnip, bearberry, burdock.
So that's catnip, not catmint.
Catmint. No, thank you. It is catmint.
Oh, catmint.
Yes,
what is catmint?
Catmint is a in the mint family. It's a different kind of catnip that has specifically nervine properties. All the mints can at some level, but catmint especially. I haven't seen it around a lot. I'd say for us locally here in BC, I'm much more familiar with pennyroyal, thyme, feverfew, bearberry, and then burdock is a great
Bearberry, what is that?
Bearberry is a root, a berry that's kind of, how do I say, it's very high in berberine.
Okay.
It's really good at balancing out the blood again and cleaning in the blood. So again, balancing the pH of the blood is how the blood likes to find its strength, is when it's balanced. Yeah.
And is this the time of the year where we harvest burdock, isn't it?
Coming into it, yeah. As we go into fall, it's time to harvest the roots, and all the energy goes back into the roots. So it's a great time to be harvesting those. Burdock, I think about as being so good for the skin. And so it's neat that Libra is all about, well, not all about, but it can be about beauty and Venus ruled archetype things. And so burdock is usually used to enhance beauty within the skin.
Well, it's such a nasty plant to have in the garden, you
Is
know?
it?
Well, you know, when
Is
it's
it
got the
spindly?
burrs and, you know, and it's like really got, you know, but then the root goes really deep. So it's really hard to get rid of. And you got to get into the root. And you can go into the markets that sell a lot of Japanese stuff, and they're beautiful long roots, beautiful. You can chop it up and put it in your stir fry. So burdock root, beautiful, beautiful stuff. But when it's not so nice to garden with it because it really is aggressive and goes so deep, huh? So
Those what are they, dock plants? All the docks seem to be pretty stabilized on Earth, and you don't really want to mess around much in the garden, hey?
no, and they have really good defense system. You know, you can't get you know, they got thorns, they got, you know, and then they got these little balls and they stick to you. It's burdock is a pain, for those who know. But this is interesting. Action invitation: drink plenty of water. You always tell us that, but that's pretty much standard, right?
Yeah.
Walk, dance, and eat the rainbow. Is that a typo?
No, eat the rainbow's supposed to be in there, so I put
Eat
that
the
in.
rainbow. Please tell us about how I can eat a rainbow.
Eating the rainbow refers to making sure you're eating a wide variety of colorful food. So that's berry season, eating flowers for color, calendula, nasturtiums are kind of coming to their end, but you can still eat them.
This is the time of the year where we harvest our our beets and our carrots. So that would be eating the rainbow.
Exactly. Peppers around here are finally ready. You're getting ready.
Cabbage and tomatoes. And so eat the rainbow. I like that. I
Eating the
like that.
rainbow. It also, though those colors are full of different antioxidants that help to balance the blood again. So coming full circle back to kidney support, helping your fluids in the system. Yeah, it all comes back full circle to supporting that.
Before we look at the important dates, I wanted to share the beautiful sunset over Mount Sualem, and how fortunate we are, and to share these beautiful blessings of abundance. I trust that your garden has been fruitful this year, and that your canning season, we can. I just starting to make grape jelly that I'm making right now, but we've got over 150 liters of canned goods, and this is exciting.
Wow. You're getting stocked for the season.
What a beautiful time of the year, but it is the busy time of the year, and it won't slow down. The nights are getting cooler, so let's share the important dates with you.
Yeah, it's a bit about all week, but there are some specific times.
Definitely all week. Oops, stay there. Boom. And let's go over here and make that big. Boop.
So on the 22nd September, that is the fall equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere. We did a video on it if you're curious to dive into that. It's a beautiful time to fall into the darker days and be aware of this equilibrium place between the light and the dark. As far as sunlight's concerned, but also the energy within our system, focusing on more inward aspects of ourselves. And then the next day.
But in terms of like times they are changing.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the four most important changes that we go through the year, and now we're entering into the dark side of the year, and this is the half point of the astrological year. So yes, go check the video. But you were saying also?
I was gonna ask you, say the next day.
The next day is that Sun Mercury retrograde inferior conjunction. That means the sun, the Mercury passes between the earth and the sun. It's that conjunction. We got to watch for combustion. You know, thinking may be difficult, but it's also at the end of the combustion, that's when the light comes on and we say, oh, these are the changes that I must do. And then the second half of the retrograde section, we get our act together. so that when Mercury turns direct, we're ready to take that energy into changing what we need to do.
Yeah, and that's Friday for everyone. So just take a few moments for yourself on Friday, but also be gentle with yourself. It could be a lot of energy that day.
So Thursday and then Friday and then Sunday is the Libra New Moon we just been talking about. And the day after that, Mercury retrograde, exact conjunction with Venus. So really important, good times to get some real good downloads from Mercury, the trickster, Venus, the goddess of love, the Libra new moon, harmony, peace, and justice, and then also the equinox coming in. And then on the 29th, Venus comes into Libra.
I feel like that's gonna feel really nice and beautiful. A lot more harmonious energies. Venus is pretty happy in Libra.
Yes.
Nice place to be.
And we'll have a Sun Venus conjunction in Libra, so that'll be beautiful. And
About
that,
a month away.
and then we also get that's right around the full moon, or maybe right after, but at the full moon we're gonna have another grand kite, and we'll talk about that. And then October 2nd, Mercury turns direct, and so that will be another one of those major shifts that we'll go through. And so we are. Uh-oh, what happened here?
Wonky, wonky.
No, well, anyway, Mercury retrograde. Spirit of the times at gmail.com if you want to drop me a message. Day by day healing for Diana Robinson. This was a really fun little video. Oh, and look at that. It's a good thing we acknowledge the sunset because the sun is gone.
Yep, it's gone now.
And it's not lighting up Sualem, although it's a beautiful light to see Sualem. And then you can see the high tide behind us. Thanks for joining us, you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. Please comment, subscribe, like the video, and if you have any feedback, we're welcome to it. I hope that you at least found a piece of this as medicine to take forward with you for the next week. I'm wishing you well on these very busy times of transformation. It can feel like a lot, but just coming back to presence can get us through it pretty well.
Diana, that was wonderful.
Martin, that was also wonderful.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. See you next time.
Bye for now.
Oops, what happened? Boom.